Afterword. Well, if there is one, and there really isn't, until there is. I was going to let this stand as of the 2020 comments below. However, I realized when recording the audio for the audiobook version of this story, there were a few minor milestones I should mention that are outside the scope and intent of this original career-based piece. Since that very last C&O Canal talk, ironically given 12 years ago yesterday on July 7th, 2011, it is not like I haven't done anything. I served 20 years as the president of the Association of the Oldest Inhabitants of D.C. from 1999 until 2019, and continue on the board and serve as their tech or admin person. I took my father's recorded account of his life and times growing up in Georgetown, and rather than just being content with the printed version of it to be lost to history other than a copy filed at the Georgetown Library's Peabody Room, used his own voice, combined it with appropriate photos, and created a PowerPoint movie, which I uploaded to YouTube where it, together with several other genealogical-based and DC-centric projects, may exist in perpetuity in the cloud. I've also unloaded some of my other experiences, including my retirement from the FCPD, C&O Canal talks, my Scandal, Scoundrel, and Scallywags, the seamier side of Georgetown walking tour video. See, I followed through on that from the Life Along the Canal chapter. If this piece ever finds its way to someone who'd want to check those videos out, they're on YouTube or its successor platform at www.youtube.com/@WNBrown50/videos. Then to just throw in some of the seamier side of my own heritage, ancestral-wise, after a couple of decades of contributing to, searching, and stitching together my ancestral past on Ancestry.com, and in fact, finding and connecting with several relatives and confirming those contacts with their ancestry DNA tests on the paternal side of my family through my great-grandmother Josephine Coxon, I was pining to find my great-great-plus brown ancestor as an immigrant stone carver from Scotland and use that as an excuse to travel abroad to my ancestral origins. Well, that dream came to a crashing halt when, in 2018, I was contacted by a genealogical researcher in Massachusetts who had determined that, in fact, I wasn't a Brown, but a King. And research demonstrated that my great-grandmother, Josephine, had been hooking up, so to speak, with her 21-year-old neighbor in 1877 or so, and bore his child, my grandfather, before she bore another boy by Robert E. Brown. While it can't be determined from family records, actually because there aren't any, why Josephine's family decided to bestow the Brown name on her king-begotten son, this development nevertheless provided for further research in connecting with some king third cousins. The scandal was substantial in the journal of a local lawyer who notes he represented the King family in a bastardy case, that would be a paternity suit, just prior to my newly discovered great-grandfather's marriage to his lawfully wedded wife. Of note, some members of my family were quite outraged at this discovery, to which I replied, "Hey, it's not like there's anything we could do about it." And remember the old comic strip cartoon character Popeye the Sailor, who was famous for saying, "I am's what I am, and that's all that I am"? So, on to that note of July 7th, 2023. I'll just sign off by saying, over the years I've compiled a couple of spreadsheets for everyone's name that worked at WAMU-FM during my years there, and another for every class and teacher, instructor, professor I had from kindergarten to post-degree courses at American University. Kind of exercises verging on the obsessive, but I never compiled a list of names for the Fairfax County Police Department and government employees, or for all those folks in the Park Service on the C&O Canal beyond those mentioned in my narrative. I guess you've got to draw the line at some point. I'll just end that even without the benefit of those extensive lists of names included here, everyone whose name appears on those lists and everyone whose name doesn't appear on any list, or in this recollection for that matter, that I've had the pleasure to know, or the honor to know, some the displeasure of knowing, and some who I wish I'd never known, I can say without equivocation that one way or another they've had an impact on my life, and I appreciate the opportunity for you having contributed to my story. Here's a postscript. I was always concerned I should wait until Lillian Brown passed away before ever sharing this with anyone, much less publishing it or recording it for it to be out there. However, try as I might, I could never find any obituary or reference to the passing of Lillian Brown, because, wait for it, she died at her home in McLean, Virginia on September 13th, 2020, at the age of 106. May your casket hinges not squeak, Lillian, and may you rest in peace.